All right, so welcome to our meetup today. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started underway here. And share that one. Okay. All right, can you see my Confluence screen here at the moment? So
Yes.
home Confluence. Yep. Awesome. Okay. So I thought today we might give a bit of a recap on some of the basics around Jira and Confluence, a bit of a whirlwind tour, and then we could start to dive into some of the more commonly used attributes, I suppose, of Jira and Confluence. And something else we might do is have another look at roadmaps in Jira, which can be quite helpful. And I've been playing with the plugin this week, user story mapping, which can be quite helpful as well. And I'm going to do some Agile BA training in the coming weeks, which will help me practice a bit more with user story mapping and some other concepts around Agile business analysis. So I've got two tabs open up here. We've got Jira on one tab and Confluence on the other. And for our newcomers, these projects at the top here, so we've got Ancient Circle, Ancient Furniture, and different ones. Some of these are from mock data. So I imported a heap of data so that I'd have something to play with sprints and different things like that. Some of these others, APC, APR, important birds, native plants. These are projects that some of our other members, Jaya from, not sure where in America Jaya is, but Jaya has created those, which is awesome. And just for your info, I've got several free Jira and Confluence instances, so I can have up to 10 people in each one, right? So if you'd like to have access to Jira and Confluence and have a play around with it for free, I can set you up as an administrator, costs me nothing. And so you can knock yourself out and just try things out. And you don't have to worry about breaking things because we can always restore it from one of the copies of the other instances and stuff. So the whole intent there is for you to be able to jump in and try out the things that we've been playing with during these meetups. So if we have a look at Ancient Circle. Now this project, we'll talk about workflows and things soon, but this project, because it was mock data and it was brought in from an outside system, it's got a sort of a strange workflow to it. So I might not use Ancient Circle. I'll jump into the NAB board. Okay. And we'll run through some of the concepts that we've got here. So in, oh, there we go, there's a tip. So with continuous deployment, Jira and Confluence being a cloud-based software, they are constantly updating things, which is brilliant. So here's a new tip: no more scrolling through a long list of fields. Fields are normally displayed on the side of their name and can be pinned to the top of an issue. So they've got a new feature here that we can have a look at. The UI, so they call it the new issue view, I think is what they call it. Atlassian over the last 12 months or so has sort of changed the layout of their screens. They were getting more and more sort of complicated. And so we've got this new look on the left, on the right-hand side here. And this new feature, you can see if I hover over, it's now got a pin to top option, and that's new. So if I scroll down under the little drop down here, it's saying show 6 more fields. So if I expand that out, we've got original estimate, time tracking, epic link, etc. There are all these fields down here that you would have to scroll down if you wanted to see them. But if we want to pin one of those, so components, you just click on that and it'll pin it to the top. Get a little message down on the bottom left-hand side here, components pinned to top. And so that will always be under this section here, your pinned to fields. So if I jump to a different issue, and so there's under, so it's beneath the description area, and we've got it there, your pinned fields, components down there. So it's very handy new feature that's only come out in the last couple of days that I've seen that. So that is awesome. Now the anatomy of the screen here, with our boards, we've got either Scrum boards or Kanban boards that you can have in Jira. What we're looking at here at the moment is a Scrum board, where you can set up sprints. Down the left-hand side is the name of the project that we're looking at, and boards have a home, I guess, in a project. So a board will belong to a project, and you can move it. So you can have a board that is sitting under one project, and you can move it somewhere else if you want to. Boards are basically a view to data. So you can populate your board with a filter, which is basically a database query. And it can be pulling data from multiple projects as well at the same time. So we'll have a look at how that's powered shortly. So we've got the project up the top there. Then this next one is a drop down where we can choose what board we want to look at. We can search for boards if we want to, and that's not just in this project, that's in many different projects if you want to. So Michelle might have a Kanban project where she's got all her work, and Ignacio might have another project which is a Scrum one, and you can sort of search for boards and navigate back and forth that way. There's only one board in this project. So our project is Native Birds, and we've just got one NAB board, which is our project in there. Our board in this project. And where it says here, other boards, so we've got Ancient Circle, and we can see it's saying in Ancient Circle. So it's a board name in a particular project, right? And we've got ANF Scrum board, Not So Ancient Circle, IB Kanban. So it's got a list here of Scrum and Kanban boards. And we could also create a new board from here if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and do that. When we create a board, we can either create a Scrum board or a Kanban board. We can create a board with some sample data if we wanted to, or we can just create a blank one. If we create one with sample data, then it will automatically create us a new project as well. So maybe we'll make this one, we'll call it Meetup October 20. And it should, usually it would give us a candidate key there. So I'm going to say Meetup, let's call it MUO, and it will nominate who you want to have as the project lead. So if I create this board now, so it's creating a new project and a new board. And come on, Jira, there we go. Okay. So it's given us some mock data in here again, and we can run through the rest of the anatomy of the board here. So with our board, so we've got the drop down here that I was talking about before. And on the left-hand side, we've got a couple of different views. We can look at the backlog, which is this view that we've got now. And a backlog is just a list of everything that we can possibly do for a project. And it's a growing list, right? And with our backlog, we can move things up and down. Most of you all know this, that we can rank, but some people who are brand new to Jira and Confluence, this is a new concept to them. So we've got a backlog view, then we've got an active sprint view. And at the moment, we've got one sprint that when we've created this mock data, Jira has automatically started the sprint for us. And we can see that we've got, I'll just run through the structure of this screen, right? So we've got a little indicator up here, 4 days remaining. So Jira started this sprint for us on the 13th of October, and it's going to finish it on the 27th is the tentative date. We've got a button here where we can complete the sprint. If we complete a sprint before all the work's done, it'll prompt asking us what we'd like to do with that work. So if I click on that, I'll say, hey, hang on a second, you got some work that isn't finished. 3 issues were done, 3 issues are incomplete, and it'll give us an option. Do you want to move that work to a new sprint, or do we want to move it to back to the backlog? So I'm just going to cancel this for a minute because I've decided that I don't want to finish my sprint just yet. The other little icons up here, there's automation. So in the last three or so meetups, we've been looking at Jira automation, which is a new feature made available in all instances, all different varieties of Jira as well. And there you can get Jira to set values on fields if you want to, and particular actions whenever something is triggered. And you can evaluate with if, then, else type statements and stuff. It's really cool. It's quite powerful. Some use cases there. At work, we've got deployment tickets which are linked to stories, and for example, the status of the deployment ticket might change, or it might become unblocked. So we remove a flag when its related story is moved to done. So there's a lot of things like that. So a person, DevOps per team member who's in charge of deployments, once the story's done, then they can just look at their cards and go, okay, I can see one that's unblocked now. I can go and deploy that into UAT or production. which is pretty cool. The other things, you can star a board if you wanted to have a board appear as a favorite. And when you do that, it'll always come towards the top of the board, the top of the list over on the left-hand side there. We can share a board. So if we wanted to share a board, we can email it, or we can copy a link to it. And under these drop downs on the right-hand side, under the three dots menu, we've got board settings. We've got another option to create a board if we wanted to from this place. We can hide our menus. So the left-hand side menu. We can open issues in a sidebar. It's an interesting one. I haven't seen that before. So we've got an option here. Okay, so in our active sprint view, if we select an item, that's cool. I hadn't seen that before. So we can either, from our active sprint view, have them open up in a sidebar like this, or we can open them in a dialog instead. That's pretty awesome. I hadn't seen that. Okay. And we can expand all the swim lanes. So the swim lanes over here, if I had collapsed some, we can expand them. Or we can collapse them all. Just expand them again. And we can hide our epic labels. Now, at the moment, we've got no epics here showing, but there's an option there to hide our epic labels if you wanted to. And you can also print your cards from here too. So someday when we're back in the office, you can use Jira to print out your cards so that you can put them on the wall. Personally, I've tried this. Unless you're using thick card, sometimes it's a tad in, right? So if you use blue tack to put a normal piece of paper on the wall and you're moving it from one column to another, then it ends up being a bit messed up by the time you get it to done, unless you're really fast. The layout of the card is sometimes it's a bit too small for print. You can choose different sizes, but yeah, might be something you want to have a play around with. Okay, so we'll come back to board settings soon. If we go to our backlog view, so the layout here, we've got quick filters up the top, and we can show in a minute just adding in some more quick filters. We can search for issues as well. So if there was something, if we wanted to search for a word like include, then it will filter the list of the backlog items based on that. We've got our sprint here. So this is a sprint which is started, and you can tell that it's already started because there's no start sprint button. We can't complete a sprint from this view. You have to be in the active sprint view to complete a sprint. And it's got our start and finish date here and the number of issues that are in. It would have a summary of the people who have work assigned to them from here. And you can click on that little 3-dot item there to see a summary of who's got work assigned, how many issues and how many story points, and the total number of issues and story points. For people who are new to Jira, issues in Jira, it doesn't indicate it's a problem. An issue is just a thing, right? So sometimes they're referred to as cards or tickets or items or something. So when Jira talks about issues, it's not talking about a problem. It's just talking about a record in Jira. Okay, the layout of the cards down here, or issues, I should use the right word, shouldn't I? On the left-hand side, that little icon is just showing the issue type, so story, bug, etc. Then this line is the summary. So if I click on one of those, we've got our summary on the right-hand side at the top here. And if I open that in a new tab, it's a summary of it that's up here. Then we've got any versions that it's associated with will sit here. Any epics would also be in this region here. The assignee, the issue ID, which is the primary key for the issue, its priority, and its story points. And if I right click and add a flag, so if I wanted to indicate that something was blocked or impeded in some way, I can put this one is blocked as a comment. Then the cards will highlight in yellow, and the priority flag will be hidden. Sorry, the priority icon will be hidden and a flag will be shown in its place. Okay, so I'll just remove the flag, and we've got an option then to remove that comment if we want to. There's a different way to add and remove flags. when I do it from right-clicking in the backlog here, I get this prompter here to add a comment when I add or remove. On the actual item itself, if I click on this one, under the three dots menu on the top right-hand side, if I remove the flag from here, then I don't get that comment. Right. Atlassian have just changed that as well. Last week when I did that, it wouldn't prompt for a comment, and now it does. So they've probably gotten feedback from people and thought, well, we better be consistent. There you go. It does now prompt you for a comment. So just ignore that. So I'll remove that flag. Okay. So that's the general layout of this area. So we've got a sprint at the top, backlog down the bottom. And we've got two panels here that we can expand out. So there's versions and epics. Now in Jira, a version and a release are one and the same. So if I open up my releases panel there, so you can see I've got versions, version 2.0, version 3.0, and if I go to my releases tab, we can see version 3.0 and 2.0. So release and version, it's a little bit confusing. It'd be good if they use consistent terminology, but anyway, it is how it is. So if I wanted to create a new version here, and I might want to call this the October release, and I might say we started work on that on the 1st of October, and we're going to finish that on the 30th of October. Create. Then that will appear in the left-hand side here, and the versions and epics we can expand the little arrow on the left there. And so for the one that I've just created, it has no description at the moment, so I can add a description if I wanted to. So I can say, here's the description. We can set or amend the start date and the finish date here, the release date, and it will give a summary of the issues, the number of completed, the number that are unestimated, and the total estimate, estimated story points. So with this, and you can see now that this is selected, everything else has disappeared from the right-hand side. So when we select these, it'll perform a filter for us. So if I click on version 2.0, it'll filter the list on the right-hand side here, and we can see the only items that we can see are the version 2.0 ones. And see the bar down the bottom here. So I've got several that are done. So if I go to the details for this one, that's going to take me into this screen here. Okay, so when we look at our releases, so remember I opened up the releases tab here and it gave me a list. If I go into one of these, it's going to take me to that other screen. So if I click on version 2.0, then it'll take me to this screen, which is the one that we just looked at before, right? So it's the details for a release. I know we're moving fairly fast here, but you'll be able to watch the video again later if you wanted to replay this back and pause it and navigate around yourself as well. So we've got the name of the release up here. We've got the status of the release. So this one's unreleased at the moment. Start date for version 2.0 is not set. We've got a link here to release notes. So if I click on that, then we've got nicely formatted release notes up the top here, just by issue type. So we've got some stories in our release, we've got some bugs and some subtasks. And included in that is a link back to the story or the bug or the subtask. And you can also grab the HTML down here and paste that in somewhere if you wanted to. So it's handy. And then we've got an overall summary page here. So if I wanted to see the issues in the version, so I've got 9 issues in this version. Again, the layout, so I've got priority, it's the left-hand icon here. Then we've got our type, then we've got our issue key, and then the summary. Again, anywhere you see a hyperlink like this, if you click on that, it will take you to the actual issue itself. Right. Then we've got another couple of tabs here. So I can see here that I've got 2 issues done, 3 issues in progress, and 4 issues yet to do. And the colors, so I can see I've got a green bar up the top here, and this is telling me there are 2 that are done, 3 that are in progress, and 4 that are yet to do. So that correlates with the colors down the bottom here as well. There's a link over on the right-hand side here, View in Issue Navigator. Anywhere you see those words in Jira, if you click on that, it'll run the filter for what you're seeing at that time. Okay, so this has taken us into another area. I can't remember which week it was that we did JQL, but that YouTube clip will be up there. I'll have to put a summary of all the sessions on my website, and then you'll be able to see if you're looking for a particular topic. So I'll do that. And we can see that there's JQL here, which is Jira Query Language, pretty much just like SQL. And so the query that it's run is status category equals new and project equals, this is the project ID for MUO. In fixed version, it's just giving me the ID for the fixed version there. Order by, so we're ordering by priority and then by key. We'll come back into this at another stage. All right. What else we got here? So we've got assignees on the right-hand side and then the status as well. Now I've got a couple of questions in the chat. Sorry, I hadn't been looking at the chat. I need to clarify, I'm using Jira Service Desk. Yep, no worries, Michelle. So in these meetups, I'm primarily focusing on Jira Cloud and the software or the core version. Jira Service Desk, though, is something I don't know a lot about Jira Service Desk, but I'd like to. So if you, in a future session, if you wanted to demo something about Jira Service Desk for us, that'd be awesome. If people like to know about Jira Service Desk, I might be able to set up a demo version of that as well. So I can delve into that. So just let me know if you'd like that. Can the project lead be changed to another role? Yes, absolutely. So let's go to project settings. Now, where are we? 102. We might not have time to get through all of the settings today, but there are YouTube clips that go through all of the settings and details. But basically, if you want to change the project lead, you go into project settings, and that was just down on the bottom left-hand side. So the last item in the menu there. And if we click on that, there's a range of different tabs here, but the first one is details. And we can see down on the bottom here, the project lead at the moment is me, because I was the one who created the project. And if you want to make that Ignacio, because Ignacio is part of the this first instance of Jira. And if I want to make the default assignee, I can either say that's going to be unassigned or project lead. So I'm going to make sure that Ignacio gets assigned all the new work, just because I'm being generous. Okay, and so we've saved our details there. I'll go back to our project. Cool. Can we prepare a product roadmap in Jira? Yep, I heard next-gen projects can do, but I tried, wasn't fun working with it. Yeah, next-gen projects are quite difficult. Okay, thanks, Michelle. So I'm also using software, but Service Desk is my priority. Yep, no worries. Service Desk is something that I need to learn about. So maybe in future meetups, I'll start experimenting with Service Desk. I'm learning a bit about it, and then we can run through that as a demo. That'd be pretty cool. So Ankit, yeah, thank you for your question. So product roadmap, very good question. If we go into, just jump back to my first tab here, under board settings, when it loads. Okay, I'm going to reload my screen again. Board settings, okay, now it's going to work. Okay, really quick tour of board settings. And it's taken me straight to this roadmap beta view. You're right, Ankit. Roadmaps initially were released for next-gen projects. Personally, I didn't like next-gen projects much because they were lacking a lot of functionality. The idea of next-gen projects in Jira was to enable people to do their own configuration. So they didn't need to wait for a system administrator and that sort of thing. But the amount of configuration they can do is kind of limited. So I like the power of the classic projects where you've got a lot more control over workflows and a lot more granular detail that we've been through in some of the previous meetups. One of the downsides of using classic projects was that there was no roadmap available for that. It was only in next-gen. However, about a month or two ago, Atlassian made roadmaps available for classic projects, and so it's in beta format here. So when you go into board settings, bottom left-hand side, there's roadmap. And if I click on this little thing up here, it's going to turn roadmaps on for me. And then we'll get a new menu item on the left-hand side over here. So we can have a play around in there. The other things quickly in board settings, under the general tab here, you can edit your filter. Remember before I was saying the boards are basically a view to data, which is powered by a filter. And this one is called filter for MUO board. And that filter at the moment, the detail of it is project equals MUO, order by rank ascending. And we saw in a previous meetup that if we take that ordering by rank away, then we can no longer move things up and down and rank them in our backlog. So it's important to have that in your filter always. The other things here, we can modify our columns that we see in our active sprint view. We can modify our swim lanes, and we can base our swim lanes on stories or specific queries, which could be something like due date, due in less than 7 days, due in 30 days, etc. We can view our swim lanes by assignee or by epics or by projects if we've got a board that's got multiple projects in it, or no swim lanes at all. Quick filters. So we can create filters in here. So if I wanted to say bugs only, oops, and issue type equals bug, I can type properly. Okay, and I save that. Then when we go back onto the main board, that will be visible as a quick filter. Card colors, we can base our card colors on issue types, for example. So this one, it's making bugs green. I don't like that. I want my bugs to be red. So I'm going to move this up here. Subtasks, yeah, that's okay. Stories, I want those to be green. So I'm going to move this here and make a nice Kermit color. Cool, because my son's mad on Kermit at the moment. Okay, so that's our colors. Card layout. There's a few different options here. In the backlog view, we can have different data fields appearing up to a maximum of 3. So if I wanted to see the name of the assignee, I can add that in. If I wanted to see the date it was created, I can add that in. And so we can pick from here all the other field attributes, right? Due date, for example. I want to put that there. In our active sprint view, we can have different fields appearing if we wanted to. So there's a custom field in this Jira instance called developer. So we could have that one showing. We could have a fixed version also showing there. You probably wouldn't know because you already got that lozenge to show the fixed version. One reason why you might want to have fixed version showing is in that backlog view, if you've got more than one fixed version, it'll just say multiple versions in there. So if you had fixed versions shown in the card layout, then it'll actually list out all the versions that you've got associated with an item. What are the other things we've got there? Resolved, so we could have our resolve date show if we wanted to, etc., etc. And this little item down the bottom, days in column, if I enable that, it'll put an increasing number of dots on the card when it's in the active sprint view, just to indicate proportionally how many days it's been in column. So if something's been in progress for 3 days, you might get 1 or 2 dots or something. If it's been a week, you get more dots. It used to be that they had a dot for each day that it had been in a column. And I think they found that was just way too many dots. So they've just sort of made it a proportionate number of dots. Estimation, we can say how we want to estimate our backlog items. So it could be by story points, could be by a time estimate or days, by issue count, etc. Working days, we can indicate what days of the week we work, what our time zone is, and you can list out here any holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, different things, if you want to indicate non-working days. And our issue detail view, this is a relatively new one. With that new UI, you can kind of override screen configuration and show which things you want to have appearing on the screen. And so it's sort of broken up into sections now. There's a general fields area, then there's a date fields, people fields, and links down the bottom. So that's probably something for another time. Now, I've got any questions? Okay, awesome. Okay, so a quick look at the roadmap. So this roadmap view here, it's a really fast and easy way to create epics and stories just as one-liners, which is really handy. So if I wanted to create my first epic, oops, second epic, third epic, and you can see that it thinks about it for a second and then it automatically assigns the issue key here. With the shaping of the bar here, there's a new custom field called start date, which is got in here, and I can move the bar left to right. That was interesting. So, okay, where it's got a rounded end on it with sort of the fading color, that indicates that the date's not set yet. So if I move that, you'll find that it moves to a square shape. I can pick up and move my my bars around and my epics, and I can also link them. So I can say, well, this one is linked to that one, and if I click on the dependency view here, it will say that the first epic blocks the second epic. There's no real intelligence around that. It doesn't auto-calculate a schedule for you or anything like that. You would need advanced roadmaps for that, and advanced roadmaps is now included in Jira Premium, which costs twice as much per license, and it replaces Portfolio for Jira, which is a plugin that you used to be able to get. Still, this roadmap view is quite helpful, and we can create stories in here as well. So if I wanted to, under my second epic, choose a story and look at my first story, second story, it's quite a fast way to create them. You obviously need to go in and add more detail in. If I click on that story, then I get the little pop-up here where I can add more detail to it, set a description, create subtasks, link, etc., add attachments if you wanted to, all that sort of stuff. So that's all very handy. And if I move that one to done, and the second one to in progress, then you can see once again you've got a sort of a high-level status view here, which is pretty cool. So we can see we've got one done, one in progress, and one is yet to do. So that's pretty cool. Okay, other questions there? And the coloring of these bars up here, if I go into my backlog view here now, so we've got our versions panel and we've got our epics panel, that correlates to the color here. So if I set my colors here, so now let me slow down a second. For the epics panel, you can create an epic from here too. And if I do that, then I get a different view to the other screen. So it's only sort of a summary again. So if I call this one my fifth epic, you need to put an epic name and a summary. And so here, it's automatically on that other screen, on the roadmap screen, it automatically set the summary and the epic name to be one and the same. A summary field can be up to 255 characters. So the epic name is just another field. If you wanted like a shorter version of the epic name, then you can have that appear in here. So if you wanted the summary, which is this part here, to be something quite long and more explanatory, maybe in the format of a user story, you could do that, and then the summary name, sorry, the epic name just appears at the top. What else we got? So on the right-hand side here, there's a drop-down where you can either pick the color, you can edit the name of the epic if you wanted to. You can view the epic details, and that will go into an issue view screen. I'll go back into this in a minute. Just mindful, we've just got 15 minutes left now. That was weird. I don't know why it went back into settings, but anyway. Okay, and so here we've also got a summary of the number of issues, just like in releases, summary of the number of issues in that epic, the number that are completed, unestimated, and the total overarching estimate. And from here, we can create an issue in the epic. So if I wanted to add another story, I can do that from here. And I can also view any linked pages. So if I had links from the Epic to Confluence pages, for example, with further detail on requirements and that sort of stuff, then I can do it that way. Okay, so I'll make that one purple. I'm going to make this one here blue. That one's going to be reddy orange, and that one's going to be yellow. And on the right-hand side here, we can see now this next story at the top of the backlog. We've got an epic of second epic showing there, and it's assigned to Ignacio, but I've got no fixed versions. With anything in the backlog, I can either drag it. Sometimes you need to refresh the screen. So I can click and drag it and drop it on an epic or a fixed version. So if I drop it onto third epic, for example, you can see there's a green box appears around third epic there, and then let it go. And that will update the epic in the right-hand side here. And you get a little confirmation notice at the top there, and I can click and drag it onto fixed versions as well. A Jira issue can only be associated with one epic at the most, because it's a parent-child relationship, but it can be associated with multiple fixed versions. If I change the fixed version via dragging, so if I drag it onto version 3, for example, it will just override what's there, but what was there previously. If I wanted to add multiple fixed versions, I'll need to click on it, open up this side panel here, scroll down to fixed versions, and then I could add version 2 as well. And if I do that, then you can see that it's got 2 versions showing here. Okay. If I wanted to clear out a fixed version, so if this version 2.0, if I say, well, I don't want that anymore, I could either do that from editing in the right-hand side, or I can just click and drag it down onto issues without versions on the left-hand side, and it will clear that field. And if I wanted to set this version here to be something else, so if I want that to be October release, I can just click and drag it onto October release, and it will say it's going to remove the issue from any other versions. Right? So yeah, that's fine. So now it's part of the October release. Okay. Yeah, any other questions? Is there a way to get a notification from Jira if the issue with due date assigned? Okay, so Ankit, is your question, when I'm approaching a due date, I want to get a notification from Jira that it's almost due, something like that?
Yes, Paul. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. There's automation now, so you can get automation to run a script each day and send an email if you wanted to. The way that that's usually done, though, if I wanted to find items that were due in a couple of days and have Jira notify me, then I might say project some. Okay, let me slow down again. Under the filters menu, where I've gone is under advanced issue search. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the screen I'm in here. So if I say project equals MUO and due date is less than 7D, then that should show me anything that that is due within 7 days. Okay, we've got nothing that's come up there. So let me save this search. So due in 7 days. To be correct, I'll make that less than 7 days. I'm going to share my filter. So we're getting into a different area now, which is cool. I'm going to share my filter. So I'm going to change the permissions on it. And I'm going to make this available to anybody who's got access to MUO. I'm going to add that. Okay, and in here, now I've got due dates here. No, that was the created date, wasn't it? So due date may not be available as a field in here just yet. All right, but I want to add due date. So I'm going to configure my fields. And I'll see if due date is available. It's not yet. So in one of the previous meetups, we went through screen configuration. So in here, we can see that we're currently using the MUO Scrum default issue screen. So if I want due date to be made available here, I need to go in and edit the screen first.
Yep.
And so here are a list of all the fields that are available, and I'm going to click on that and scroll down a little. And due date is a field that I can add to this screen. Okay. When I configure a screen in this way, I don't need to save it. So any fields that I add straight away or that I delete. So for example, if I didn't want to see security level, for example, I can just remove that field. I don't need to save this. It's taken effect straight away. Now, if I refresh this configuration screen, and I know this is a lot to take in all at once, right? Then we've got two sections here. The bottom one is hide when empty, and we can see that due date is now visible down the bottom here. But I want due date to be always visible, so I'm going to move it up to the top. Okay, and actually I want it to rank, I'm going to set that above assignee. Now I'm going to go back to my project and go to my backlog view. And one of these, if I want to set the due date now, then I can see that due date, I'll refresh. And it might be because I was looking at the bug screen. It's weird. Okay, I've missed something here. So let me go back and configure my screen again. Due date. This is the default issue screen. And you know what I did? Oh no, I did save it.
Paul, is it bug screen or issue screen?
It's the issue screen. I've confused myself, Ignacio. I reckon what I did was I didn't save it. Okay, thank you. You're always there to save me. I appreciate that. Okay, yeah, what I've done, I moved due date up there, and I always forget on this screen, I need to save it. All right. So the other one, when you're configuring the screen and the old view, you don't need to save it, but in this one you do. Okay. So now if I refresh my screen for a story, now I can see that I've got a due date screen field. Thanks, Ignacio. Good work. So if I set that to be the 19th, now I'm going to go back to my filter and search, and I've got it appearing here. All right, it's due in less than 7 days. Now, if I wanted Jira to notify me that something had sort of snuck into that 7-day window, then under details, I can create a new subscription. And I can set up a personal subscription. I might want this to run daily, or we can set days per week or days per month, or advanced. You can have it run on a particular interval with a cron expression. So I'm going to get this to run for me at 8 a.m. each day. And there's an option here, email this filter even if there are no issues found. Well, I don't want to get spam from Jira, so I only want to get an email if there's an item that's become due in less than 7 days. So if I subscribe to that, then that'll run and email me each morning if there's things that are due in less than 7 days. So this is pretty cool. There's a lot that you can do with it.
Maybe a quick question, Paul, here.
Yeah.
Is this standalone, or is it any extra service that we get in a premium account, or is it just
no? This is available in all different variants. Yep.
Wow,
so
that's
the free, free version as well. So this one here, Integrity Works demo. This is one of the free instances that I'm using for these meetups. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's good functionality. And due dates. So we've got a few minutes left here now. So just going to switch to a basic view, and due dates have a bit more functionality to them. So due date. So this is in our advanced filter screen here now. And I've jumped back from JQL into our basic view where we can build up a query just by adding criteria to it, right? So due date I've got a few more options here. We can just put now overdue, right? So if something's due date is in the past, you can just use that now overdue option. Or you can say more than, it could be 7 days overdue, for example. And you could have due in the next week or next day or whatever, due between a particular date or due in a range. So where it's due between, that's a hard-coded date, or where it's in the range is relative to the current day. So it's minus 3 weeks, and I think that's 4D because it's just cut a little bit off the D there, or to 3 weeks and 4 days. So I'm just going to make this anything that's now overdue, right? And that one, I put it as due yesterday, so that's why it's still showing that filter. After I modify a filter, I'll just need to save it again. I don't need to change the permissions again after saving it, but I do need to save it after I've made a change there. Okay, so that's pretty cool functionality. Michael, can you see the sprint view in the roadmap? No. Good question. So in the roadmap view, it's always kind of forward-looking, and again, this is an Atlassian marketing tactic, I think, in the advanced roadmap. So if you get Jira Premium, then you get that sprint view, right? So I think they're sort of enticing us a little bit, and it's a good marketing ploy. Down on the right-hand corner here, there's an option to see by weeks, months, or quarters. And there's another option here for if you want to see status. So I just want to filter on epics that have work to do. So that will filter, but really that's about the extent of it. There's a couple other little things here. Epics display options, I can choose to see all or anything that's incomplete, for example. And then we've got options here to see dependencies or hide them if you want to, and you can just see that link disappeared, and progress. So you can hide those bars if you're really pressed for space. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to see that though. Ignacio, you've probably noticed that this view has changed since about a month ago. So they're adding functionality to it all the time, which is great. I don't think it's ever going to have everything we want though.
Yeah, good. I did think there was slightly different, but it's good to review this. That's why, yeah, happy to see things again.
Yeah, and I got lost for a start when I a couple of days ago I was looking at the roadmap and I thought, where's the view to see my timeline, days, weeks, or quarters? And yeah, they've moved it down to the bottom right corner here.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So it's good that they're getting feedback from people and updating things very quickly. Now we've just got 3 minutes left, so I'm just going to pause there for a second and just have a look at questions. So can see a sprint view from the roadmap, so you need Jira Premium for that. Could you give a summary of the various Jira versions and the features of each? Yes, now if we go to Atlassian.com, and I'll share this link in the chat, and under products, we've got Jira software. And release, if I scroll down, nope. Product guide, here we go. So we get a sub menu when we go into this area of the Atlassian website. Okay, and there should be a comparison. All right, let's go pricing. Third time lucky. A bit of a drum roll. Okay, so under this page, and I'll paste that in the chat. Okay, so we're using at the moment the free version, and so it's limited to 10 people, and it's pretty cool that they give it free, really. Site limit 1, that's new, because I've now got 4 sites, so they're probably going to get a smack on the wrist about that. But anyway, they must have put that limit in recently. So you can have Scrum and Kanban boards, and that's available across all. Backlog, yep, agile reporting, customizable workflows, etc. Advanced roadmaps, so we don't get that with the free version or the standard version. You only get that with premium. And enterprise, there you go. So enterprise is a new thing as well. Automation is available across all. There are some restrictions on automation with the number of transactions that you can have, etc. but that's pretty cool. Global and multi-project automation. So we can see that on the free version, the standard version, it's not available, but on the premium version, you can, and with limited executions, I would say. With the enterprise one, there's unlimited executions. Advanced permissions. So in some of the meetups before, we've talked about the limitations of the free version with the permissions that you can set and that sort of thing, archiving, etc. So there's it's a good breakdown here of the different things that are available in the different variants of Jira. And now that they've started selling it across these different types of plans, they're adding more and more features in, which is pretty cool. Yep.
Paul, so that limitation to one site, is that going to affect what you've set up for us over the last two and a half months?
It hasn't at this stage, and I haven't had any emails, or I didn't even realize that limit was in there. If I went to try and set up another free instance, perhaps that might cause an issue though, or I might not be able to do it. But that's okay. I can just set up some new email addresses and get around it that way. That'll be fine. Okay, so what plugin add-on would you recommend for timesheets in Jira? I've seen a couple of different ones in use. I can't remember which ones come to mind at the moment, but if we go into our apps, so your anybody who's got access to these free versions of Jira, I'll make you an administrator, so you can add apps. Just don't do any paid ones, please, because otherwise I'll get billed for it. But any free apps you can do. And so if I go timesheet, and Tempo timesheets, that's the one that I've seen mostly, I think. And for free, timesheet tracking for Jira, Clockwork, automated timesheets, etc. But Tempo is the one that I've seen mostly. I think that's probably because it's the oldest. Maybe not necessarily the best. There's probably newer ones now. I mean, this one's free and it's got 3.5 stars, which is pretty cool. 8,500 installs. So yeah, there's a lot of good free plugins available. So yeah, please, if you've got free access to one of these free instances of Jira, go for it. Install free apps and try things out. Ignacio's played around with integrating Slack and Jira automation, getting automation to do stuff in Jira as well in Slack, which is pretty cool. If you'd like access to the free versions, just let me know. I think I've still got a few spots left in the fourth free instance. So just let me know. And if you'd like your own free instance set up, I can give you a hand with doing that too. All right, so I've got email there. Thank you, Vivek. Do you normally go by short name Vivek?
Yes, Krishna.
Yeah, no worries. Welcome. Great to have you with us. I will do that. I'll give you access. If anybody else would like access, I'll send out a meetup follow-up email. Hopefully it'll be quicker this time than what it was last week. Sorry, I was a bit slack. Yeah, if you'd like to have access, just let me know. Send me an email or message me on Meetup and or LinkedIn. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, just connect with me and I'll give you access. So that's probably all we've got time for today. I'll just stop recording now. Thanks very much for everybody who's watching the video.